But the story that's breaking at the moment, Home Minister Amit Shah a short while ago has met the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. The meeting comes a day after, of course, the Vice President Dhankhar resigned, and also amidst a move to impeach Justice Yashwant Verma of the Delhi High Court. Impeachment motions have been brought in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Jagdeep Dhankhar had taken up this impeachment motion in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, which was signed by opposition MPs. And many believe that that was one of the reasons why the government and Mr. Dhankhar were engaged in some kind of a tug of war. The opposition has, remember, questioned the resignation of Dhankhar, saying there is more to it than meets the eye. So clearly, Jagdeep Dhankhar controversy hanging over the monsoon session of Parliament. All eyes on that and what happens next. Joining me now, Piyush Mishra and Maushmi Singh for quick updates. First to you, Piyush. We are told at the moment that the government... Sorry, to Maushmi Singh first. Maushmi, we are told that the government is already exploring options as to who will be the new Vice President. But what are you picking up? Is the opposition determined now to take up this issue and ask for a clarification for the government as to what led to the sudden removal or sudden resignation of the Vice President?
Rajdeep, clearly, the first day of the monsoon session, we saw a big political cloudburst, and I don't think that the opposition is planning to up the ante on the government as far as, the resignation of the Vice President is concerned. But yes, the political slugfest will be on more than any formal procedural one, where they would be saying that Mr. Dhankhar was at a constitutional post and he was removed very unceremoniously without giving him the proper farewell that he would have deserved as the Vice President. But clearly they feel that somewhere Mr. Dhankhar was deciding to get two notices of the opposition in the upper house, and that was not only on Justice Verma but also on Justice Shekhar Yadav, and he had confirmed to the opposition members about that, and that's the reason why the government thought that this was a lot of undoing of what the government wanted to do as far as solely going after the removal of Justice Verma, and that's one reason that Mr. Dhankhar was asked to resign.
So clearly, of course, the opposition believes that there is more to this than meets the eye. This is not just for health reasons, which was the official reason given. But Piyush Mishra, is the government now ready with its plan B? Are they caught by surprise by what Mr. Dhankhar did? Or are they ready with a potential Vice President candidate? And has the search already begun?
Well, Rajdeep, sources have confirmed to us that the search has already begun, and for that, multiple deliberations have already taken place in Parliament. And what we're also told is that it was not a shock or surprise for the government. The top ministries of Modi cabinet already knew about this decision, and that's why the preparations for that are already taking place. Yesterday, we saw hectic parleys in Parliament where multiple meetings took place at Home Minister Amit Shah's office, and then following which we also saw how there was a meeting at the Prime Minister's office also where the top ministers were present. So the preparations have already begun. We also spoke to a senior minister who told us that they are just waiting for a notification from Election Commission of India, and after that the further processes will be followed.
Lots of names, of course, doing the rounds, perhaps premature but presumably whoever becomes Piyush will be a senior BJP leader. Am I correct that the government wants to replace Jagdeep Dhankhar with a loyalist, someone totally loyal to the BJP?
No doubt about that, and the BJP is a party which is known for throwing surprises, and this party has also got multiple veterans, and like we are also telling to our viewers, Rajdeep, that if the election of BJP national president takes place, then after that itself, we can see that many veterans will be there, and among them, BJP could pick one of them, and there are many loyals also in the politics in this different outfit, and out of them, one could be given the chance, and there is no dearth of loyal or veteran politicians in BJP. One of them could certainly be given the important position.
So likely to be a veteran BJP politician. On the other hand, Maushmi, the opposition seems to see this as an opportunity to suggest, presumably, that the Modi-Shah government has done a hit job on Jagdeep Dhankhar. Jairam Ramesh certainly suggesting as much. But is the party in any position to try and perhaps shoot off Dhankar's shoulders? Are they fishing in troubled waters, the opposition?
Rajdeep, of course, it doesn't augur well for the government, with the vice president resigning on the day one of the monsoon session. If he had to resign for health reasons, he could have done it earlier without that sudden surprise, and it did catch the government off guard. We saw how, the war of words broke out after Mr. Dhankhar made that announcement at 4:07 p.m. in the Raj Sabha about Justice Verma and Justice Shekhar Yadav. So clearly, the opposition sees that this as a trumping up and a googly that they have thrown on day one, and it's got the government in a bit of an awkward position. But the government has been very quick as it is in controlling the entire damage, and naturally now the names that are doing the rounds are very interesting, and the opposition leaders were coming up with names of Ghulam Nabi Azad and Arif Mohammad Khan for the government, vouching, nominating, choosing these leaders. But of course, these are all speculations.
Right.
But one thing is clear, that the opposition would be really interested in, if there is a notification, to make that, battle as far as, elections are concerned for the vice president's post.
Maushmi Singh, Piyush Mishra joining us on that rapidly developing story. Kaun banega Up Rashtrapati is now the next big question that the government will face. In fact, let's turn to giving you a sense of what led to the unprecedented resignation of a vice president who still had 2 years of his term. The opposition is pointing out to the friction or growing friction between the Modi government and Jagdeep Dhankhar. The last straw, many believe, was the impeachment motion notice that was allowed against Justice Yashwant Verma, in whose house cash was found. And that motion, which was signed by opposition MPs, or notice signed by opposition MPs, was quickly accepted by the Vice President in the Rajya Sabha yesterday. But is that all that is responsible for this resignation, or has tension been building up between the Modi government and the Vice President's office? Take a look how things escalated so quickly.
I will retire at the right time. August 2027, subject to divine intervention.
That was Jagdeep Dhankhar at a JNU event on July 10th.
August 2027.
11 days later, the intervention, divine or otherwise, which he alluded to jokingly, seems to have struck. On Monday night, he resigned as the Vice President of India, citing health reasons. A reason that not many are ready to buy. It was a usual day in office for Dhankhar. It started with a heated exchange between Mallikarjun Kharge and JP Nadda.
अरे गुस्सा मत करो भैया, अरे गुस्सा मत करो. Nothing will go on record. Whatever I'll say, that will go on record. You should know.
After kicking off the proceedings on the first day of monsoon session on Monday, he chaired a meeting of the Business Advisory Committee of the Rajya Sabha. This was attended by Union Ministers JP Nadda and Kiran Rijiju, along with other members. The committee decided to meet again at 4:30 p.m. The twist came in the evening, when Dhankhar announced he had received a motion to impeach Justice Yashwant Verma, at whose official residence a huge amount of burnt cash was found during his tenure at the Delhi High Court.
Since the Honorable Law Minister...
Dhankhar then sought clarity from Union Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal on whether such a motion has been presented in Lok Sabha.
Honorable Law Minister, are you aware? Motion has been moved.
हाँ मोशन स्पीकर साहब के पास जो है वो सांसदों ने मिलकर के दिया है
कर दिया. In that case, since the Honorable Law Minister is present here and has so indicated that a similar motion has come to be presented by requisite number of members of Parliament of Lok Sabha, requisite more than 100.
More than 100, 152 I think.
More than 100. To the Honorable Speaker, Lok Sabha.
The government, which was planning to move an impeachment motion backed by all parties in the Lok Sabha, was caught on the wrong foot, with Dhankhar taking up an impeachment motion by opposition MPs in Rajya Sabha. Sources tell India Today the chairperson had not kept the government in the loop. Congress MP Jairam Ramesh claims when Business Advisory Committee met a second time at 4:30 p.m., both Nadda and Kiran Rijiju were absent. The government was represented by Minister of State L. Murugan. Dhankhar rescheduled the meeting for 1 p.m. on Tuesday. Nadda says he had informed the VP's office he and Rijiju won't be able to attend the meet. Around 5 p.m., sources tell India Today, BJP MPs from Rajya Sabha were called to a meeting at Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's office in Parliament. Sources say the BJP MPs were asked to sign on a paper, which they assumed was related to the impeachment motion on Justice Verma. Why the signatures were taken remains a mystery. At 9:25 p.m., Dhankhar posted his resignation letter on X. Opposition parties are asking what happened in those 5 hours after 4:30 p.m. that led to Dhankhar stepping down. The first time a Vice President of India quit mid-term without being elevated to the President's job. President Draupadi Murmu accepted the resignation on Tuesday. Shortly after that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi posted a terse message on X, wishing Dhankhar good health. Bureau Report, India Today.
So as Jagdeep Dhankhar's resignation as Vice President continues to swirl a political controversy, joining me now is one of the senior-most members of the Rajya Sabha, former Finance and Home Minister and Congress leader, Mr. P. Chidambaram. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Chidambaram. While the Vice President has said that he has resigned on health reasons, the Congress party doesn't seem to be buying the argument. They're saying there's more to it than meets the eye, even hinting at a constitutional crisis and that the Vice President was eased out of office by the Modi government. Are you all only fishing in troubled waters, Mr. Chidambaram?
We are not fishing. We are not cause of the troubled waters. Firstly, in my view, there is no constitutional crisis. It's obvious that the relationship between the Vice President, the then Vice President, and the government had completely broken down. Now, what was the reason for the breakdown? I can't speculate. But once the government lost confidence in Mr. Dhankhar, he had to go. And
so how do you know the relationship had broken down? On what basis are you saying the relationship had broken down?
I'm answering that. The deputy chairman made a bland, emotionless announcement in the Rajya Sabha today that there is a vacancy in the post of Vice President, and the occurrence of the vacancy has triggered the schedule, which will be announced in due course, or something to that effect, which means the government has bid goodbye to Mr. Dhankhar without fuss or fanfare or a farewell, which means that trust, the link between the two, has completely broken down.
But what I find interesting, Mr. Chidambaram, is that the Congress party and other opposition parties had expressed their no confidence in Mr. Dhankhar not too long ago. You all had even last year brought an impeachment motion which was unprecedented against the Vice President, accusing him of being a government mouthpiece, not conducting the Rajya Sabha fairly. Now that he's been removed or resigned, whichever way it is, suddenly the opposition seems to have developed an unusual fondness for Mr. Dhankhar.
No. No opposition MP or no opposition party, to the best of my knowledge, has implored him or requested him to reconsider his resignation. In fact, I said yesterday, and other MPs have said the same thing, I wish him a good health, a long life, and a happy retirement. So nobody has asked him to reconsider his resignation. So why do you jump to the conclusion that we have developed a fondness? It would not have been appropriate to say that now, but now that he has left the position, we can say that now, that the opposition had lost confidence in Mr. Dhankhar many months ago.
But Mr. Chidambaram, just look at what Jairam Ramesh, your chief spokesperson and senior MP, said yesterday. He heads your media cell. He said he hopes that Mr. Dhankhar will reconsider his resignation. He says Mr. Dhankhar is a farmer's leader and someone connected with the people of the country. I mean, it seems, that's why I said the opposition is fishing in troubled waters, trying to create somehow this impression that Dhankhar's ouster reveals a government that is badly divided or a government that is tangling with a constitutional functionary.
Not correct. I asked the Congress leadership this morning, is Mr. Jairam Ramesh's statement, official position, to which they invited my attention to the Congress President's statement this morning, where he said, Mr. Dhankhar has resigned. It's for the government to accept the resignation. They seem to have accepted the resignation. What have we got to say? That's the official position of the Congress party. And I don't know of any other MP, any MP who has met Mr. Dhankhar or written to him or spoken to him requesting him to reconsider his resignation.
Mr. Chidambaram, there is a story within a story here. There's also, we are told, a growing fear of a confrontation between the judiciary and the legislature stroke executive. And this is what triggered off eventually Mr. Dhankhar's resignation. He was keen to push ahead with an impeachment motion against the High Court judge, Justice Yashwant Verma, in whose house cash was found. He allowed a notice signed by opposition MPs to be moved in Parliament in the Rajya Sabha, almost preempting a possible move in the Lok Sabha. Is that, as a senior lawyer also yourself, is that something you now fear, that there is a growing tension between the judiciary and the legislature / executive, and that's where Mr. Dhankhar, by taking a strong stand against the judiciary, ended up embarrassing the Modi government?
The tension between Mr. Dhankhar and the judiciary was building up for over a year. He has taken confrontational positions on the power of judicial review, on one nation, one election, on federalism, on the Keshavananda Bharati case on basic structure. In fact, he criticized the Keshavananda Bharati judgment in the presence of former Chief Justice Chandrachud at a lecture. Therefore, this confrontation was there for the last year, and the government either acquiesced in the confrontation. It's possible, as you say, that he overstepped his limit and confronted the government by admitting the motion against Justice Verma. But he had no choice. We had 63 MPs of the Rajya Sabha signing the motion, and he had no choice. And equally, he had no choice but to admit the impeachment motion against Justice Shekhar Yadav. But he has held that back for over 6 or 7 months. That was wrong on the dubious ground of verification of the signatures. Once the signatures were verified and re-verified, he had no choice. I am told that he was planning to admit that motion also. But I'm also told that the government was not very keen on admitting a motion against Justice Yadav, as they were keen to admit a motion against Justice Verma. Please remember that the government was the motive force behind the impeachment motion in the Lok Sabha against Justice Verma, but the government has been completely silent and inactive on a motion to impeach Justice Yadav. Therefore, the government has double standards.
Can I therefore ask you in conclusion, how do you think, as a senior parliamentarian, Jagdeep Dhankhar will be judged? And what does this entire episode, unsavory as it appears, reveal about the nature of the Modi government?
You see, we know the character of the Modi government. They will befriend anyone as long as that person toes their line. But once he steps out of line, they will withdraw their support. I'm not saying that is exactly what happened in Mr. Dhankhar's case, but something must have happened. For example, Mr. Nadda and Mr. Rijiju attended the BAC meeting at 12:30, which was adjourned after some discussion to 4:30. At 4:30, Mr. Rijiju and Mr. Nadda did not attend the meeting, which everybody else present considered it a boycott. I believe Mr. Dhankhar was quite miffed and upset, and he terminated the meeting. So what happened between 12:30 and 4:30 is for investigating journalists like you.
Well, how will Mr. Dhankhar, very quickly, Mr. Chidambaram, be judged in your eyes? How will he be seen? Will he be seen as someone who upheld the dignity of his office, or someone who was a government mouthpiece, or someone who tried to be balanced and thereby pay a price for it?
I can speak only for myself, and maybe I can speak for the Congress party, but I'm not sure. Speaking for myself, I know Mr. Dhankhar for several years. I knew him as an advocate and a senior advocate. I was very disappointed with the way he conducted the Rajya Sabha, but that's past now. Why rake up the past? I think his understanding of the rules and his rebuff of the opposition motions were very disappointing.
Okay. You're being diplomatic there in your final answer, Mr. Chidambaram. We'll let it leave, I'll let it rest there for now. But I appreciate you joining us and giving us a sense of where you stand on what has been the major controversy of the last 24 hours, the resignation of the Vice President. Thank you so much for joining me.
I want to end by saying, I just want to end by saying that I wish Mr. Dhankhar good health, a long life.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much. P. Chidambaram for joining me here on the News Today. Now, what is very interesting in all of this, the BJP is totally silent. Even the voluble BJP spokespersons apparently have been told not to speak on the Jagdeep Dhankhar issue. By contrast, it's the opposition which had called for Dhankhar's impeachment only 6 months ago, which is going for the BJP on the issue. Listen in to how the opposition is playing this issue at the moment.
जो हमारा पता नहीं है, एक चीज आप लोगों को तैयार करके देता है, आप करते हैं, इसका अंदर में और कुछ गड़बड़ है, देख लो. You cannot decide the political parties for what reason Mr. Dhankar resigned. You cannot decorate that line. I don't have any comments about it because let us see the things. Let us watch. He's wealthy man. He's a healthy man. I think his health is absolutely okay.
That government has to clarify why the vice president resigned. Whenever the vice president resigned, I saw the resignation letter of the vice president. He thanked the government, but I didn't see any comment from the government. At least they have to give a thanks to the vice president. That at least that he deserves.
मानसून सत्र के पहले दिन तो उन्होंने बहुत ठीक ठाक चलाया था और अचानक से रात में ये सूचना मिली कि उन्होंने इस्तीफ़ा दे दिया है. अब दिया गया है कि लिया गया है, ये सवाल खड़ा होता है. चर्चाएं हैं और लोगों की जहन में भी है कि इस्तीफ़ा जो है लिया गया है. अब क्या कारण है क्या नहीं कारण है ये तो वही बेहतर बता सकते हैं. लेकिन हमने तो कल पूरा उनका देखा, वो तो स्वस्थ लग रहे थे और पूरा हाउस उन्होंने चलाया है. अगर ऐसी कोई बात आती तो वो सदन में भी रख सकते थे.
So let's dive even deeper into the controversy. Was Dhankhar's resignation voluntary or was he simply eased out? Was this some kind of a hit job on him? Is health a cover for the real reason? Is the resignation row an embarrassment for the Modi government? Who will be the next vice president? I want to be joined by Ashutosh, journalist, politician, now political analyst, tracks the BJP RSS closely. Rajat Sethi, political commentator, has worked closely with the BJP. Anilesh Mahajan, deputy editor, India Today, covers the BJP RSS for us. Let's go to each of them to find out Andar ki khabar. Ashutosh, you first, because you've been stirring it up. I saw you on Aaj Tak claiming that this is a fight within the BJP and Dhankar has become a fall guy. Let's be honest, does anybody really know, except for Modi Shah, what happens in this government?
See, Rajdeep, as I told to Aaj Tak yesterday only, that 3-4 days back, I was meeting with someone who was important enough, and I was told then that Mr. Dhankar was very, very upset with the behavior of a few leaders in the party, and one of the leaders had really insulted him. That's what he felt. And his ego was very, very bruised. And I could say that he was literally in tears. That's what I was communicated and conveyed. The issue was, I was really surprised at what has happened, because Mr. Dhankar has always been very kind to the government and he was doing what was required from him, was asked to do. So what was the reason that why he felt so insulted? Or somebody had really scolded him, or somebody had really told him not to do something, or ask him to do something which he didn't want to do. So
no, you're claiming someone insulted. You're claiming someone insulted Jagdeep Dhankhar within the government. Someone who Jagdeep Dhankhar has always batted for this government.
That's what I was told. That's what I was told. I didn't want to name my source, but I was very confident that this is exactly happened with him, and I'm very confident about it. That there's no two opinions about it. So, but I thought it might be having some small incident somewhere else. But yesterday when I got to know that he has resigned, then I connected the doc. I could feel that something must have been festering for a very, very long time.
So you're saying he was forced out? You're saying he was forced out?
I think so. I think so, because for the simple reason, if he was so upset and he felt so insulted, so intimidated, then obviously he had all the reasons to resign. But then he chose not to resign before the parliament session began. He chose to resign when the parliament, on a very first day itself, conducted throughout let Mallikarjun Kharge say whatever he wanted to say, and then by late night he resigned. So something has happened between 4:30 and 9. Either he was asked to resign, has created a situation where he had no other option than to resign. So I feel that probably he was asked to resign, and he was left with no option than to resign.
Rajat Sethi, what's your sense? Remember, as I keep saying and prefacing this, nobody really knows what happens in this government except the big two. Do you go along with what Ashutosh says, that Jagdeep Dhankhar was forced to resign, or was a situation was created where he had no option but to resign?
See, I don't think Rajdeep ji, there is any end to what these so-called sources, quote-unquote sources, are talking since the past 24 hours. But a lot of sources apparently, and none of that which can be quoted or corroborated, have been talking about, the plausible reasons behind this resignation. One thing is sure, that Prime Minister's tweet was terse, and that's the only sort of dot. And if you want to create a story out of that dot, it's up to you. But I believe that it was something where, either the relationship would have gone bad. And it's just like a cricketing analogy. If it's a 5-day test match, but even a session going wrong goes wrong, it can affect the overall momentum.
But what went wrong? No, what went wrong? You see, the question is what, the general speculation is Mr. Dhankhar was taking a very aggressive stand on the judiciary. And that had become an embarrassment for the government. The government did not want this tug of war to go beyond a point. And Mr. Dhankhar was determined to take on the judiciary. Do you believe in that line of thinking, Rajat?
You have to contextualize what the previous vice president was doing, with the fact that even certain questions, 12 to 13 questions, were referred by the Honorable President to the Supreme Court to ponder over. And those are absolutely fundamental questions. I believe this entire conversations or public conflict started when the Honorable Supreme Court made this assertion that there is a time-bound manner in which the president can or the governor can give a comment on a ruling or a state assembly's law which has been promulgated by the assembly. That in itself was an overreach. And I believe very pertinent, very deeply constitutionally pertinent questions were raised. And I believe ever since that, it was the Vice President Dhankhar who has been questioning those things, that there has to be checks and balances on the judiciary, and the three wings, the legislature, executive and judiciary, have to work in tandem. It cannot be that one institution is judge, executioner and everything in one, right, all baked in one. And he kept saying this. I don't find it problematic. And I don't see BJP having issue with that. I think it's more around certain other things. It could also be triggered around the fact that while Lok Sabha had already taken the matter of Justice Verma's case, why would on the same day would Rajya Sabha also go out and take it? BJP wants to run a tight ship in terms of narrative and everything. Any kind of a slippage is something that Prime Minister doesn't like. He wants to ensure that everything is prim and proper and followed through the set of basic expectations that is there from public offices. We should also understand that the head of the executive is the Prime Minister. And of course, there are constitutional positions of the President and the Vice President, which have to largely follow the line that the cabinet is asserting. That's how our framers of the Constitution have framed it. There is very little, extremely little leeway that is left for the Vice President and the presidential office in our country. That's the state of affairs. If you want to go out and question the working of the government, you are already on a slippery track, in my opinion.
Okay, so Mr. Dhankhar, in a way, had some believe decided to go out on a limb in taking on the judiciary. Anilesh, your view, you have the inside track. Is this linked to some kind of power play? What was Dhankhar? How did Dhankhar suddenly become adversarial to a government that he was always praising all the time?
Rajiv, the little we could gather, we all are, trying to join the dots which are available in the public domain and try to build a story around it. Whereas all the stakeholders which had played a part in building up the story are silent. So whatever.
Why are they silent? Tell me, Anilesh, why are they silent? If the government, Dhankhar doesn't get a farewell, there is no, even the Prime Minister's message is very terse. I wish him good health, but nothing more beyond that. suddenly the government doesn't want to talk about Jagdeep Dhankhar? Why?
Rajiv, we all have to understand that BJP is going through a lot of churn. You know, they have to select a new president. Then they also have to resolve what is happening in Uttar Pradesh. And suddenly you see that, and cabinet reshuffle is also probably on cards. And suddenly you see that, vice president resigns, and which they were not expecting. And they may have been contemplating that he may react, or, there would be some delays in meetings. But they had not anticipated that,
No, you're making an important point. You're claiming, contrary to what many others, you're saying this government did not anticipate Mr. Dhankar would resign so abruptly. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. You just see, BJP is very, very neat and tidy when they, decide on who to get which position and what sort of caste equation, regional equation you build. And suddenly, very important constitutional position becomes vacant. Now you have to rethink, the whole equation. And now you have to bring in some senior leader with a repute at this position. And that BJP had not anticipated. This I
Very
can
interesting.
and
Very interesting what you're
this
saying.
I can tell you, from an authority that people told me since morning that they had not anticipated that this type of reaction would come from Mr. Dhankar.
Okay, so
And
maybe
he had we also have to see Mr. Dhankar was part of schemes. Not only while joining the office of a vice president, but also when he was governor. And before that, he was very crucial part when he played a very crucial role in resolving the Ram Janmabhoomi issue. So he was part of scheme of things. So he was not somebody who was an outsider. He had good equation with top leaders in RSS. Sometimes he also played role in bridging things. So his reaction nobody had anticipated.
Interesting. Reaction no one had anticipated, that runs contrary to what Ashutosh seems to suggest. But I just want to play what Jagdeep Dhankhar said on the farmer issue, because one of the issues along with the judiciary that Mr. Dhankar was pushing was the issue of the need to address farmers' concerns. He's a Jat, remember, and the Jat farmers were the one who had led the farmers' agitation. And he said this in front of Shivraj Singh Chauhan, the agriculture minister. Listen in.
और हमें सबको जानकारी होनी चाहिए कि क्या किसान से कोई वादा किया गया था। माननीय कृषि मंत्री जी, आपसे पहले जो कृषि मंत्री जी थे, क्या उन्होंने लिखित में कोई वादा किया था? यदि वादा किया था तो उसका क्या हुआ? कैन वी क्रिएट अ बाउंड्री बिटवीन द फार्मर एंड द गवर्नमेंट? माननीय कृषि मंत्री जी, थोड़ी पीड़ा है, मेरे लिए चिंतन और चिंता का विषय है। अब तक ये पहल क्यों नहीं हुई? आप कृषि कल्याण ग्रामीण विकास के मंत्री हैं। मुझे याद आती है सरदार पटेल की, उनका जो उत्तरदायित्व था देश में एकता करने का, कैसे उन्होंने बेखूबी किया। ऐसी चुनौती आज आपके सामने है, इसको भारत की एकता से कम मत मानिए।
Ashutosh, here you have Mr. Dhankar sort of taking on, if I may use the word, Shivraj Singh Chauhan on the farmers issue. Do you believe, as Anilesh says, that look, Mr. Dhankar was very much part of the RSS BJP ecosystem. He's not someone who was an outsider in that sense. So when you say that he was angry, he was insulted, what is it that, what would insult Jagdeep Dhankhar? Some are saying that when the US Vice President J.D. Vance came to India last month, Mr. Dhankar was not allowed as per protocol to host him, even though he's the Vice President of India. Is there something more to all of this than meets the eye? When you say that he was insulted, you've got to give a damn good reason for it.
See, Rajdeep, I beg to differ with my friend Anilesh. BJP is a cadre-based party. And in a cadre-based party, there are certain minimum discipline which is required from the BJP ministers and BJP leaders. And that is part of their DNA, because they are trained to believe and behave in certain manner. A dedicated RSS worker at the BJP cadre would not have behaved the way Dhankhar has behaved with Shivraj Singh Chauhan. In terms of stature, Mr. Dhankar might have been a vice president, but Shivraj Singh Chauhan is a far more senior leader and far more experienced leader and carries far greater influence in the party itself. So the publicly saying something like this, that means Mr. Dhankar is still carrying his socialistic streak, for which Socialist Party and the leaders are known world over. And that is why they could not remain one but broken into the many parts. The fact of the matter is that he was an outsider, tried to be insider, but failed miserably. This very statement which he had shown proves that point. The last point, Rajdeep, I want to make, I was just checking. I believe that Rajnath Singh is the most affable, most sociable leader in the party. Even he had not tweeted. He had not tweeted through Twitter. He has not inquired anything about Mr. Dhankar's health. And my information goes, none of the BJP leader, none of the BJP ministers had gone and inquired with a bouquet or a basket of fruits. That means there was a total breakdown of relationship between the Dhankar party and the ministry and the cabinet and the prime minister.
Now, many believe, of course, that one of the main reasons, if there is to be a breakdown, was also Jagdeep Dhankhar taking on the judiciary, as I keep repeating, particularly Justice Verma's case. The government also reportedly wants Justice Verma impeached, but Jagdeep Dhankhar wants to lead the charge. Listen to what he said about the cash haul at the judge's residence a few months ago.
There was cash haul at the residence of a judge in large quantum. I say so because it is now in public domain, officially put up by the Supreme Court, that are the residence, official residence of a judge of the Supreme Court, so judge of the High Court, cash in large amount was found.
You know, he keeps referring to this issue, Rajat. Do you believe that Jagdeep Dhankhar is someone who crossed in the Modi-Shah government? Can any other individual be seen to be taking on the system apart from the big two? Is that part of the problem, that Jagdeep Dhankhar became almost larger than the post that he held as vice president?
I think, forget about Prime Minister Modi or the Home Minister in this case. If it is any political party, they would want a degree of control over what is being said, and especially if you're on the Treasury bench side. I don't see that you replace this with the UPA or with the previous governments. Whenever anybody tries to move out of line, it creates discomfort. And here it is Prime Minister Modi who explicitly has said it multiple times that he wants to ensure that the communication side is controlled properly so that no stray comments come in and unnecessarily derails the overall discourse. That has happened with multiple members of parliament and they have paid the cost. He does not want people to speak out of turn. And I believe that since the president, also the chair of Rajya Sabha, is largely an outcome of this political churning that has happened over the 10 years. And he cannot stand out and say things. I mean, what he said against Shivrajji, this is not even the platform to do that. And there was an outreach. By any means, there was one. And with regards to judiciary, I mean, again, I'm contemplating, not that I am privy to anything insider, but all I can sense is that this will create unease. Look at what is happening in the Congress party. If today a Shashi Tharoor goes in and makes comments, it makes huge amount of discomfort even with the Congress setup. That's how parties are. That's how the system operates. And this is why even the letter that has been written by by Dhankarji will leave gaps between the words. The tweet that Prime Minister has written has left gap between his words, what he has written. And those would be for next several years and decades for us to parse and analysts to think about it, what went, what not went. But this is how the powers have spoken. And it is up to analysts now to decipher it, and this is going to carry on for some time now.
You know, the silence, of course, makes it even more difficult, and it only leads to more speculation. But Anilesh, a final word to you. Who will replace Jagdeep Dhankhar? If you are a betting man, and I'm not sure you are, is there 1, 2, 3? Lots of names are doing the round. Someone even suggested Shashi Tharoor, not realizing perhaps the way the BJP functions. Who do you think? 1, 2, 3. Rajnath Singh ka naam chal raha hai, kai naam chal rahe hai.
Rajdeep, one thing I have learned while tracking RSS and BJP, that don't guess. Because, there is a lot of consultation these guys do, a lot of thinking goes behind it. And right now they are in a state of shock. They haven't made any panel. and they just want to understand how the cabinet reshuffle and BJP's national president and UP thing gets sorted, and there they will pick a piece, and maybe in 15 days time we'll get to know that in which direction BJP is thinking and RSS is thinking.
So you could even have a compromise, a BJP president of one type and a vice president of another. Some kind of a compromise could well be arrived at, but that will be the next big question. Kaun banega Uprashtrapati? But to all my guests for joining us and giving us a sense of the mystery surrounding Jagdeep Dhankhar. Clearly this was not about health. That's becoming clearer by the day. दाल में कुछ काला है या कुछ तो तिनका है, whatever they would like to say in this particular case. Thank you all very much for joining me. Let's turn to tonight's Get Real India story from the ground. A youth-led green revolt is shaking the pink city of Jaipur. That's right. Citizens in Jaipur are up in arms against a project that will strip the city of its valuable tree cover, acres and acres of forest land. What for? To build hotels. The citizens want to preserve what they call is the green lung of the pink city. Take a look at today's Get Real India story from Devankur Vadawa.
जो लोग एक पौधा माँ के नाम लगाते हैं, आज वो ही लोग पैसों के लिए इतने सारे विशाल पेड़ों को काट रहे हैं।
डोल कबाड़ हमारा है, हमारा है, हमारा है। A storm is brewing in Jaipur. The Save Dol Ka Baad campaign, fighting to save 2,500 trees from the axe, has exploded into a youth-driven environmental movement. Over 100 acres of dense green cover, home to over 80 species of birds, and the ecologically vital khejri trees is now under threat. At the center of the storm is the proposed Prime Minister Unity Mall, FinTech Park, and other commercial projects by RICO.
Activists have been campaigning for almost 4 years in South Jaipur to save trees in the Dol Ka Baad area. Several people maintain that around 2,500 trees, more than 80 varieties or species of birds are required to be saved, and that is why they have been carrying out this campaign in the Dol Ka Baad area. They maintain that the government is trying to ensure that a PM Unity Mall, hotels, FinTech Park are made in this area, and that is why it is bent upon uprooting trees they consider essential.
PM जो है प्रधानमंत्री जी कहते हैं एक पेड़ माँ के नाम लगाओ, और PM के नाम ही 2,500 पेड़ काटे जाते हैं। वो अगर लाखों पेड़ पौधे अगर पौधे लगाते हैं तो लाखों पौधों में से चंद मात्र पौधे जीवित रह पाते हैं, वो पेड़ बन पाते हैं।
Our point of contention is when you have such land, when you have such a beautiful place which is already a natural forest, and when government themselves are building forests, like JDA is coming up with their own biodiversity park in 2025, and on the other hand there is another agency, RICO, which is cutting the forest for a mall for tribals.
Protesters claim that over 7 lakh people will be impacted by the project. They suggest a biodiversity park should replace the development project.
If you call police brutality, harassment by police, continuous surveillance by police as a government response, definitely yes, the government has responded, but no contact from any bureaucrat, any small government officer, let alone the politicians or the ministers, has been made. We have been protesting for 4 years, and this protest again started in last 4 months, but not a single government official has cared to come and talk to us. Today is the 29th day of indefinite protest.
हर एक अधिकारी से बात की, पर्सनली मिलने गया, कलेक्टर से, रिको चेयरमैन, रिको एमडी, सबका किसी का कोई सीएम हाउस भी गया, किसी का कोई इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है पेड़ बचाने में। इसमें जो 203 पेड़ का जियो टैगिंग की गई है सबके द्वारा, और जियो टैगिंग एक गूगल जो ऐप है, इनका ऐप के थ्रू मार्किंग होती है, हर ट्री की फोटोग्राफ होती है, और इनका रिकॉर्ड बोल रहा है 58 ट्रीज है। ये कैसे पॉसिबल है? मतलब हर जगह गफलत ही गफलत है।
From cycle march to candlelight vigils, citizens are using different ways to make their voices heard. Despite petitions and public outrage, the silence from the authorities is deafening. But on the streets, the voice of citizens is only growing louder. Bureau Report, India Today.
Save our trees cannot simply be a slogan. It's got to be translated into reality. Okay, just about enough time to leave you with our good news story today. At 71, most people retire from learning, but not Tarachand Agarwal from Jaipur. After losing his wife during the pandemic, he took up to studying to fight loneliness, and guess what? Has become a chartered accountant. Now he's inspiring his grandchildren, proving that it's never too late to chase your dreams. Tonight's good news, today's story. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
There is no age for education. Tarachand Agarwal, a retired bank official from Jaipur, has proved the age-old wisdom right. He has become a chartered accountant at the age of 71.
क्लासेज लेनी थी तो वो क्लासेज उसमें ऑनलाइन चल रही थी तो जयपुर के सेंटर की तो नहीं मिली नहीं तो मैंने देहरादून के सेंटर से वो दोनों क्लासेज ऑनलाइन मैंने पूरी की। मैंने 10 से 12 घंटे लगातार पढ़ाई की और उसमें से 4 घंटे मैंने लिखने का प्रैक्टिस किया।
When he retired from service in 2014, Agarwal wanted to spend time with his family. But the second wave of COVID took his wife's life, leaving him alone.
प्रॉब्लम रही पर मेरा परिवार ने इतना मेरे को इतना संभल दिया कि मेरे को ज़्यादा महसूस नहीं होने दिया।
पापा यहाँ पे दुकान पे आ जाते थे मेरे साथ और यहीं पे बैठ के अपनी यहाँ पे किताबें रख के और पढ़ते रहते थे और घंटों तक पढ़ते रहते थे।
In his grandkids, Agarwal found good company for studies.
कभी दादा को कुछ डाउट आता था मैं सॉल्व कर देती थी, मुझे कोई डाउट आता था दादा सॉल्व कर देते थे। तो इस तरीके से एक साथ पढ़ाई करते हुए ऐसा लगता था किसी दोस्त के साथ ही तैयारी कर रही हूँ।
वो यूट्यूब से लेक्चर्स देखते थे, वो पेपर सॉल्व करते थे, बड़ी इनकी मोटी मोटी किताबें भी देखी है मैंने, तो उनको देख के लगता था कि इतनी देर तक तो इतनी उम्र में मेहनत कर सकता है, तो मैं भी ऐसा मोटिवेशन आता है कि मैं भी बैठूँ उनके साथ पढ़ूँ।
Agarwal is now an inspiration for Ankika, who wants to be a chartered accountant like her grandfather. With Vishal Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.